invitation. Excellent work.
Oh,
Okay, so welcome to the Grimoire Dead Famous Readalong live. Has no one else got their copy? Just me. All right, sweet.
I read
yeah.
that. So
Yeah, I know you read my copy. That's fine.
Mine's all the way over there. I've got to get up. I ain't getting up.
Becca, could you have not been prepped? Like, honestly, you knew you were talking about it today.
I have had a 24 hours from hell, so no.
Okay, we'll discuss that after the live stream because I
we
feel
will.
like we won't.
I
have
want
enough
to
time.
interrupt. Is that the paperback?
Yeah.
Can I ask the last section? So for anyone who's not read this, this is split into 4 sections. Does yours have every single O coloured in?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Don't know if you can see that. Can
Yeah.
you see that?
Just for context, I don't know if you got this note.
I did.
Yeah, so in this, it's like, oh, like, this is the first edition, but clearly it's just, like, basically we thought it was to apologise for all the mistakes that were in the first edition that came out.
See, that's the thing, is this also apologises for certain stuff, right? So, just to say hello, because we never get people commenting when we do these. We're kind of just, like, in our own little worlds. It's nice to see that people are actually, hi, saying hi. That's the thing. This does not say that it's the first edition, but it does say the book you're about to read is a reference guide, and that there are issues with it. Because, for example, so for those of you who did it audiobookly or whatever, there are different fonts throughout the entire thing depending on who is speaking, and we will get into this in a bit because like there are some things I just think are genius, but there is also the last couple of paragraphs of Dead or Alive that should be in a specific font, but they're not. And I wasn't sure if that was like a hint to something that was going to happen in until the end. And also at the bottom, there is a thing that says, I would also like to point out that there is a section of the grimoire in which the letter O has been printed as a solid black circle. This is, let's be honest, odd. It's almost as if there's been a code embedded there somewhere. There isn't a code, but it's almost as if there is, but there isn't. Or is there? No, not yet. This anomaly will not be present in future editions, or will it? So the fact that...
That's why I asked.
So I did a sneaky search on the internet, and most people are like, no, it doesn't mean anything. Like, it's just a thing they've done to kind of be like, ooh. But I found one comment that said it means this, and I don't know if it's a troll. It probably is, but I thought it was very, very funny. And someone said that they think what it spells out or what it's a code for is the God of Apocalypse loves you, which I thought was really funny. And I don't know how they've got from there to there, because I haven't even tried to work out.
Well, the thing is, I'm really bad with puzzles like that. With like decryption puzzles. So considering like I pre-ordered this and I got it as soon as it came out, I didn't know if it was just him being like silly, like, oh, there's a printing error, and so we've got these little letters, or if it was actually in the book. So I'm like, I'm not wasting my time until I find out.
So the thing is, because it's just the O's, I don't know how you would work out.
Well, I'm wondering if it's meant to be like Morse code.
Well, yeah. But there are no dashes, and in Morse code, you need. I love that you all did that at the same time. That really made me laugh.
Also, Olivia, I'll reply to your messages later. Love you. She's messaging me right now. That's what the noises are.
Because that's the thing. It's like with them, you would have dashes as well, and there aren't any dashes as far as I can see. There are just like there's 2, 1, 1, 3.
And like it's not like you can make something out the letters because it's just ooh.
Yeah.
But then, like, is it like you count the circles in each line and that means something? Like, this is what I mean. Like, considering I didn't know if this was an actual misprint or not, I wasn't wasting the time.
The thing is, though, right, knowing... okay, so I won't say because there are spoilers, but just say hello. Thank you. And there will be spoilers, basically, for the entire series as well, by the way, because this is essentially a recap. So I'm not even going to bother putting like the spoiler thing at the bottom because it's all spoilers. But I think Derek Landy is just a troll, and that he put that in there because he thinks he's funny. That's what I think it is. Like if his acknowledgement pages and his little dedication pages are anything to go by, Derek Landy is a troll. And I just thought, like when I read that, like because I did it as an audiobook, so I didn't notice at first and then kind of like had a flick through because like the artwork in it is really clever and like all of it is like structurally really interesting. And I love things like that. They've just got like different things on.
It's kind of like mixed media in a way.
Lizzie found it more difficult as the book than the audiobook.
I nearly gave up on it. I nearly gave up on it. Because I was reading it and I was like, what am I doing here? Like, I don't understand what the point of this book is. Because obviously I've been reading Skullduggery like starting from midway last year. Like, it's all really kind of fresh. So I was like, I'm just reread, like, what is the point? I think it was like 60 pages in. I was like, Hannah, I don't know if I can do this. I just don't know if I can do it. And then I bent to the audiobook and it was a lot easier because I think the voice acting is hilarious. So I did nearly give up on it.
That's the thing. It's like, yeah, I thought the fact that they got the narrators that have done Skullduggery in the past to voice Skullduggery, for example, on the audiobook was really clever.
I think when I read this the first time, because I read this when we like near the beginning-ish of when we started reading, because I was still trying to read everything as it came out. And so for me, even though I'd recently read, I think it was the first 4 I'd read before I read this one, everything else was old for me. I hadn't read it in years. And so reading it from that perspective was really good. Also for this, because I was able to read this and be like, oh, it's a great summary. Good. If I screw up and forget something, I can just reread that part of this. So for like the summary kind of side of it, like if you haven't read the series in a while and you're wanting to like get back into it, like it genuinely is a good way to recap. And that's probably why you weren't vibing with it, because you're like, we've just read this.
Yeah,
we've just read it.
That was it. But like, I also thought the audiobook was interesting. And I was talking to Hannah about this earlier. I find it very interesting that the audiobook narrators are all English. They're all English actors, apart from when they're voicing Skullduggery and Valkyrie in their little bits. And I'm like, that has to be significant. Because why are English people archiving what's happening in the Irish sanctuary? So then that brought up a whole load of other things for me. So then I was like, why have they done that? That is a specific thing they've done, because they've never had an English audiobook narrator, as far as I know. They've all been Irish. So just thought I'd splash that one into the ether. So
Splash that one into the ether. No, I'm convinced it's that stereotypical like British librarian type thing. But what I also really enjoyed is each of the very British archivists are still very distinctively different, and I think
definitely have different people for each. Oh, that's great.
That's right.
Which is why it was good. Which is why it kind of was easier, because there were distinct voices and they were distinctly different people, and they had obviously the voice actors doing Skullduggery and Valkyrie. They were also different, so that was really helpful.
Yeah. Also because it was very quick, and it meant that I could get to both books in the 2 weeks that we'd given ourselves. So we'd not have managed otherwise. Okay, so in which case, let's start with the first voice then, which is Palaverus, which is a great name, by the way. Now, the structure of Palaverus is very stereotypically. Go on.
Just before we actually get into it, can I show off one tiny thing?
Please.
Yee!
Sorry, I just considering like it's shiny. And
I took mine because I wanted to get my letter signed, right? Because I thought then I could frame that, and then I totally bottled it, and I only got my arc and the Until the End signed, which is such a shame because like I should have, and like Lizzie really did her best to like.
I tried my hardest. I was like, just do it. He's signing, like, literally someone had their entire fucking series out at the front of the line. I'm like, I'm sure he doesn't care. But Hannah was like, no, not going to do it. It's fine. I'll just get these 2 signed. I'm like, all right then. You live your life, but it's a mistake.
6. So I saw other people bringing their entire series.
Yeah, there were loads. There was one guy in front of us that actually, like, before we even get into like this thing. So for context of those watching that don't understand, Lizzie and I on Monday went to the Until the End Derek Landy signing. And Abby, did you go yesterday or say before yesterday? Thursday. The one in Manchester?
But he didn't go anywhere in the East that wasn't London.
No, so he had 4 other venues booked, but unfortunately, and you'll have seen it on his Twitter if you know or care, his partner had suffered a bereavement, so they were going home he
got the flight home straight after my signing.
Yeah,
so out, like for the signing that I was going to started, and literally like he was like his team. I say his team wasn't there. I don't think it was just the Waterstone staff. Were trying to like pack up when it was the end of it, to try and make it quicker for him to kind of run to the airport, sort of thing.
Yeah. But yeah, so we went to the signing and we actually got to meet him, and he was so lovely in person. And I'm always terrified of meeting people that I genuinely respect, because one, I am definitely going to say something fucking stupid. Like, there's no two ways about it. I'm going to embarrass myself. And the second thing is, there is that cliche about don't meet your heroes because they'll turn out to be assholes. Can confirm, Derek Landy, not an asshole. Not an asshole.
Right, I checked this with someone else that was like at the signing randomly. I went by myself, but like I checked it with someone who was the one behind me. You two are probably the same. He made it feel like he was just really happy that you had came. Like he made it personal.
Yeah.
And it was like, dude, you've seen like hundreds of people over the past few days. Like these queues were massive. And the guy in front of me was there for his partner. She lived in America. So they were long distance, and so she obviously couldn't come to any signings. He's not going to go to the US right now. And so he went and got it signed for her. Checked with him first that it was okay, and Landy said yes, and then video called her because it was a surprise. She didn't know. And so one, that's already cute. But then two, Landy like made sure that she could actually properly hear him and was like, do you have questions? Like, do you want to give me any questions? And I was like, you didn't have to do that. You could have just been like, hi, and signed the book. Mm-hmm. And that would have been nice.
Yeah.
And no, he was like, no, please, like, while you've got me, like, questions, do you have any? Like, what do you want to ask me? And she's like panicking, and he's like, no, take your time. And it was like so lovely, like, just on top of everything. Like, he didn't have to do that. And especially, obviously, with what he was going through at the time as well. It was like, dude.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I genuinely, like, because I basically, the first thing I said to him, no, he oohed at me first, which threw me completely, because I handed him the two books. Now, the arc that Emma Novella gifted me has the same bright orange that the Until the End does, so I just handed two very orange books to him, and he went, ooh, advanced reader copy, cool. And I was just like, yeah, and like, didn't know, like, literally all thoughts head empty, like, it just, and I decided it would be a great time to tell him that 3 out of his 15 books made me cry like a baby. Excellent work is what I said. Did that as well. Like why?
I'm pretty sure that's on camera. I'm pretty sure I've got you doing that on camera. It's in my latest vlog. So if you want to see Hannah do that, it's on my latest vlog. I am talking over her at the point at the same time.
I felt so stupid. But I also was like, I was just really excited to be there, right? And he was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I was like, oh, that was fucking stupid. And they went, have you got any questions for me? And I was like, I did have a question. You're right. And it was just like the way it was just like, it was so chill. And I just like, I really liked that. But my question was, if he could bring another character from a different franchise without the risk of being sued, because obviously we've talked about the Luke Skywalker reference and how haha that was, what character would he bring in from another franchise? And he said, ooh, that's a good question, which made me feel really smug. And then said he would love to bring Sherlock Holmes in because he would love to see Sherlock Holmes and Skullduggery Pleasant's egos just battle it out. And I went, okay. And he specifically said from the Sherlock series. And I said, I agree. But imagine if you had Skullduggery, Cadaver, and then Sherlock from both Elementary and Sherlock Holmes. And he just went, ooh. Like, it was just the face, it was so funny, and I was like, yes. And it was just, oh, the whole thing was great. And
while we're doing questions, the one I asked him, well, I asked him 2 questions, and one of them was Hannah's question because I asked for questions. She said that I didn't have to, but I was like, no, dude, I can't think of barely anything. And so it was what magic discipline he would rather be, elemental or adept, and if adept, then what? And we think that because of everything that was going on, his answer was a little bit influenced, but he said teleporter, adept. Just for anyone who is wondering, that is what power he currently at this moment would like to have. I was thinking about it for mine.
Yeah, what was the other question you asked him?
Oh, I asked him, why did my mind blank? I know what I asked him. So I asked him whether he had ever thought about having a spin-off series for Omen Darkly. And he looked at me, and then he was about to sign this, like he was about to open it, and he just went, "Have you read it?" I was like, "Mm-hmm." And so, like, I guess technically, this like is a spoiler. but like this level of spoiler. In that, yes, it's something that he's considered, but like he doesn't know if he would do it or not. And it's like, it's not a yes, but it's not a no. Like, he genuinely has no idea. And I heard a lot of other people asking questions, and a lot of other people just got a straight, I'm not telling you. Like, someone was like, what's Skullduggery's name? I'm not telling you. What's his wife's name? What's his kid's name? I'm not telling you. Whereas I got an actual answer, which I thought was really cool, of like, yeah, no, I truly don't know. Like, I haven't thought about it yet. He just kind of looked at me and was like, I don't, like, I've thought about it, but I don't know.
Take my money. I would buy those so quick. Like, so quick.
Like, I hope that more than just me asked him, because then he'll, like, do it if loads of people asked.
Well, Lizzie asked a question.
I got a very, I got a very nice, polite answer to my very strongly worded question. I realised I probably came off as like a right dickhead afterwards, because I was like, no, I do have a fucking question, actually, Mr. Landy. I didn't actually say that. I was like, yeah, I do, actually. Where was Flasher and Scapegrace? Where are they? And he was like, well, you know, the reason I don't really bring them back is because I torture them a lot. I'm like, if you want that, and I was like, yes, I just want to see them. And he's like, oh. You know that awkward moment where I'm like, oh, I seem like an asshole. Oh no. What have I done?
Do you know what made it even funnier is she did a right like hand on hip motion where she was just like, where are they? And like what fucking killed me is obviously this was after Lizzie had already been about spoilers from his team, and just like a real like, okay, all right, if you, where are they? Like, where are they? Really, really tickled me. So.
He was very good humoured though. Like, he didn't seem annoyed. It was just one of those moments. He was just like, oh.
I mean, like, let's be real. Like, a lot of authors can be like really highly educated people. So then when they get like really nerdy people in, like, it might seem like a little like, oh, like I'm not sure like how to interact. Landy's just as nerdy as the rest of us. Mm-hmm. He just happens to be a fantastic author on top of it. Like,
I mean, when I met him at Yauk, he actually asked, do you have any questions? And I had no questions whatsoever, because I didn't think there was going to be questions or anything. So in the end, I just was telling him about how much I loved all of his pop culture references and like, why does he do that? And he said that it was because it was all the things he loved growing up, and he wanted to share that in his books. And I was just like, oh my God. And then was telling him about how much I love the Princess Bride reference. And that's how I told my mum immediately. And I was like, you dork!
Why did he's dork too, so it's fine.
Yeah. No, absolute hero. Absolute hero. Any other Landy anecdotes you want to share before we talk about the book?
The last one, I promise. This was like recent for me, okay? Like, I wasn't even going to go. My partner made me go. It's like, it's right in my head. The 6 books I took were this, Resurrection, because it's the only of the new series that I didn't have signed, because I didn't know it came out because I was in the midst of like dying at uni. And then I took until the end, because in case they wouldn't let me in, because I pre-ordered it. And then I took my first 3 that my mum got me paperback when I was a kid. The other 2 he just signed with like just his signature. But this one I got him to sign to Abigail. And my mum was like, oh, because like the other ones are signed to Abby if they've got a name in them, because that's what everyone calls me. Like, no one else calls me Abigail apart from my mum and her family. And so I'm like, no, I got them to do it what you call me.
That's cute.
And she was like, oh, that's so cute. That's the last thing. You can carry on now.
No, that's adorable. That's adorable. Okay, right. So, Palaverus.
Yes.
I really enjoy that the font is very stereotypical Times New Roman. Very straight-laced. So I got the impression straight away that he's a very straight-laced character. What did you think? Like, was there anything from his chapters that you were like, oh, that's like an add-on from the books, or like interesting mythology? Because he kind of had loads of like footnotes where he would talk about like different creatures as well, which I quite enjoyed.
For me, is that the section where you see the picture of the cleavers?
If it is, highly agree with what you're going to say, because we've had this discussion.
Yeah.
Let me check.
Because I didn't expect the cleavers to look like that. That's not how Because in my head, they looked like the stick. Do you know what I mean? They had that look, all like
in my head, they were like the guards in the Hunger Games movies.
Mm.
Like the police, where they're in like they're helmeted. And I also assumed that they were, for some reason in my head, I had them as being like at least like 6'3", all of them. I don't know why. Child when I first started reading them. So my brain just did that and was like, they're all at least like 6'3". They're all built like a brick shit house, and they're all in white.
See, that to me looks very Nazi-esque.
That's what my mum said.
And it's like, there's something about the helmet that I'm like, because I imagined more like, you know, like a fencer's helmet that like sits at the back and then comes all the way to the front, and then it's all like the armor, but it's like all canvas type thing. That's what I imagined.
I guess it is just like more old-fashioned than what we had all envisioned.
I assumed it would be like a stormtrooper though, so am I the only one that thought that? Because all I could think
I
was,
also
like,
had stormtrooper vibes.
like a little bit stormtrooper vibes, and like,
but like this is just like you say Nazi-esque, and yeah, I agree. Like you look at it and it gets that vibes, but at the same time, it is just kind of like that old-fashioned style of like
it's the helmet and long coat for me.
The helmet,
like. And I don't know if it's just because of like the films that I've seen where Nazis are portrayed like that, like specifically the soldiers, not necessarily the officers. Like that doesn't look like a British military to me.
I mean, he's not British.
But do you know what I mean? Like British
Sorry,
Ireland.
But yeah, no. Like
some parts of Ireland are British. I appreciate that's not what they're talking about, but it counts. It doesn't.
I also knew that they used a scythe, but that scythe looks massive. I don't know. I felt like it was more of like a kind of like almost the same height as them with like a less intense blade. I don't know why, but the one because that just seems like a lot, that weapon.
Yeah, the blade size didn't surprise me. The stick size did. I was like, what? Shut up, Hannah. It's what I say to Chris every night in bed. But yeah, just why is it like...
I love you for making it worse. I love you for making it worse.
But like, genuinely, I did not expect the scythe to have such a large fucking hand. Like, why is it twice the size of the cleaver?
For reach.
I know, but I just didn't expect it. And that's now every time I go back and reread them, we're like seeing, I don't know, like Tanith fighting with them is going to re-change every aspect of the fighting.
See, the thing is, that's why I don't understand how Tanith didn't just straight up win, because like where you've got like such a long reach, there's no way she can just like sneak in under that and just, you know.
Well, I mean, I don't know because it's so long. It's not like a finesse weapon, is it?
Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like if you've got someone like
I feel like it's not a useful weapon. Like I would have thought like it should be more hand-to-hand combat for cleavers a lot of the time. And then when I saw that, I was like, well, then of course they always win because they're like 10 million yards away from them, you know.
But then at the same time, when you like take into account all of the other drawings that are in this, I think they're just supposed to be interpretations. Yeah, because like every single drawing style is different. Some things.
Am I right in saying it was fan art? Am I right in saying that?
I don't know.
Didn't he get fans to send their drawings in? I may be completely wrong on this.
Well, because some of them are just random. Like, who is Rex Reent on page 283 in my copy? Like, who the hell is Rex Reent? Like, who's clairvoyant? Like, that's just made up. So, yeah. I don't know. But also, I didn't expect Serpine to look like he was out of a series of unfortunate events.
I said that. I said he looks like one of the, he looks like the husband from the Corpse Bride.
He looks like a butler. Like a really evil butler.
Speaking of the drawings as well, did anybody else look at the drawing of China and think she looked like Simmons from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I'm going to find it because, to be honest, I only looked at a couple of them.
Bear with.
It wasn't fan art. It was illustrations by someone called Tom Percival. I just thought I'd fact check while I was here.
Oh, he does all of it. He's done all the covers.
Okay, Vorian's Scapegrace is harrowing to look at.
I know, it's like, what the fuck?
That is a fever dream.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's why I think it would just be, interpretations.
But I mean, he is a zombie king who's described as having bits falling off, like I guess.
Well, another thing is that people sometimes confuse Omen and Augur.
Mhm.
and then they realize, well, if this is accurate, then
Yeah.
like. So this is why I think it's just interpretation. I've not been able to find China yet.
Especially because on the front covers of Dead or Alive, and we discover who that person is, they're blonde.
I'm
That's
gonna
a
look
sneaky little thing for. Also, I don't know why Darkess looks like a ninja, like meets a mime artist.
No. Powerpuff Girls.
Certainly, the pose is very Powerpuff Girl.
Like that is villain in Powerpuff Girl universe.
Yeah. Or like the one with the lobster one.
It gives me the gay lobster vibes. Oh, tell me the lobster wasn't gay.
Yeah.
Can anyone tell me who Mycetosis Terror was?
Oh, isn't she the one everyone forgets? You forgot who she was.
It's only because I was literally like, it's on the other page. It was like, who? And I think when I read it, I was like, oh, ha ha ha. But just now I was like, what?
See, ironically, I was telling my mum about her the other day, and then I went, I can't remember her name. I couldn't remember her name either.
That would make Derek Landy so happy, is that you were just like, who's that?
Who's that person? I should have asked him. I should have been like, who's Mycetosis Terror?
I'm surprised nobody asked him why hasn't he called called Skullduggery Sherlock Bones yet? Because especially with the Sherlock Holmes conversation.
I found her.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Simmons from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That is Simmons, isn't it?
I mean, I get more what they called Adam's Family vibes from the picture, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Morticia
It's
makes her, I think. I don't know, I just immediately saw that picture and went, that's Simmons. I don't know why. But that's where my brain went. And I've been imagining China to look more like Charlize Theron for years. So that was a bit of a what moment.
Well, we had this discussion because I started reading them when I was a child. My brain was like, she's clearly Chinese.
Genuinely, yeah. So again, for context, because apparently we have 80% of our conversations not on the live stream, which helps no one watching them. We were talking about like who we would fan cast for certain roles and stuff. And was it you, Abby, that suggested what's her face, Chan? What is
Gemma Chan.
Gemma Chan?
Yeah,
China.
because and we had this discussion on one of the original live streams, like back at the first few books, where I said, because I'd read them as a kid, literally it didn't cross my mind. It was just like, yeah, China must be Chinese, like the most gorgeous Chinese woman you've ever seen in your life. And therefore I was like, in my head, like the closest fan cast has always been like Gemma Chan. She's in Humans, and
she's also in the new Avengers, Immortals, whatever it is, the
Eternals.
And she's fantastic.
Something like that.
Hannah made the very good point that like Landy has made it clear, essentially, in like all the drawings and stuff that we see of her, China is not Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
So like my fan cast will never happen. It was just my child brain being stupid. But in
that's not to say that she couldn't play another character.
Oh no, like 100%. But like in my heart of hearts, Gemma Chan is China.
Yeah,
I've literally never thought about who I'd cast as China because I feel like she's unplayable because I always think China is like the most beautiful person ever. And like I think anyone who's cast as her would be a disappointment somewhere. Like it's the same thing. Whenever you cast people, someone will be disappointed. And I just don't know. I can't think of an actress right now that I'm like, I don't know. That's my point of view.
For me, because Gemma Chan had been cast in Humans, where she plays a... Is it Humans where she's playing a robot? I think it is.
Yeah.
And so she's supposed to... It's basically like these robots that you take into your home and you use them to do menial tasks. And they are humans. And there's a whole like culture, like, oh, what's wrong with us doing this with them and treating them subhuman and all that discussion. Fantastic show. But so they are supposed to be like very aesthetically pleasing to the face, to the eye. And so it's like, shut up, Hannah. So like she's already played like that role of like someone who is designed to be very beautiful. And so in my head, because I've seen her play that role already, like it works for me because she's already like in my head. She's already like designed to be like that, so it would work.
Can I interest anyone watching this live stream to start a drinking game where you drink every time Abby tells me to shut up? Because if you drink water, you'll stay hydrated. My thought was Gemma Arterton, because again, Gemma Arterton has played a wide range of characters where regardless of what she looks like physically, she is revered for her beauty, right? So she's in that stupid Olympus thing where she's meant to be like an oracle for gods. She's in St. Trinian's, where again, like, she has this very dramatic entrance because she is head girl. She's also in Prince of Persia. Like, she's in loads of things where like her beauty, regardless of the fact that she is just very stereotypical English rose, black hair type person, it's about the way she carries herself. It's the ladylike. And I feel like there's a bit in, and this is like, we'll talk about this like when we actually get to Until the End. There is a bit in Until the End where Valkyrie talks to China about, I'm really sorry I'm doing this. I know you wanted me to like grow up to be a lady. And she's just like, that's not what being a lady is. Being a lady is, you know, holding yourself like to a certain standard or whatever. And I feel like that's what you're looking for when you look for a fan cast actress. You're not necessarily looking for like most beautiful. You're looking for someone who, regardless of what they've got on or where, like, what they're doing, they're holding themselves to a standard that you could just never achieve. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's that I feel like would make her a great China Soros.
I'm also waiting to see, like, if they do ever do a TV show or something. All I want is either actual Irish actors or someone that can do a convincing Irish accent without it being shit, because that's the other thing. Like, a lot of actors who play, you know, not Irish people, their Irish accents aren't great. I can't do a great Irish accent either. So it's like, ooh, then you got the other problem. They might be the best, like, fan cast or whatever, but then they open their mouth and you're like, you ruined it. I don't believe you.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I would love to see them just have to cast voice actors, real actors, anything, just to see who they would cast, because also then we would get some fantastic Irish talent.
Yeah,
Ireland doesn't get a lot of talent out there in like the wider non-Irish world, and I would love to see, because they would have, like, inevitably you can get amazing British, American, Australian actors doing fantastic Irish accents, but you would have to have at least someone Irish in there, and it would be great.
That's kind of why it makes me sad, because I want Benedict Cumberbatch to be Sculduggery Pleasant, but I don't think he'd do a convincing Irish accent.
He does an awful American accent.
I know he does a terrible American accent, which is why it's
getting better. The American accent is getting better.
I hope so. He's on film 3.
You can tell he's working on it.
His job is to speak in that American accent, and it was fucking awful.
See, this is why I said it, because I knew that was going to happen.
Are you okay, Han?
I'm just trying to imagine Benedict Cumberbatch with an Irish accent, and it's just making me giggle.
Yeah, it wouldn't be good, would it? And that's what makes me sad.
he could act it, and they could get another voice actor in. I feel like
because you need that voice, because they always say he's got the Sculduggery's got the smoothest voice going, and
yeah, but he's got the smoothest voice with an English accent.
Yeah,
it's
second
not a smooth
American
voice in anything else. You know, my fear is equally. Whoever they get to play Tanith Lowe has to have a legitimately London accent, similar to this, as opposed to whenever an American tries to do what they think is Cockney.
In a very British accent or fake Cockney. Yeah, no, it needs to have an actual English accent, like for London.
Because has anyone here seen The Boys with Carl Urban?
Yes. Yeah.
That accent is the worst thing in the world. It wanders, and we keep on saying he sounds like Jack Sparrow. And once you like think of him as Jack Sparrow with that accent, it doesn't go away, and it ruins a lot of it.
Yeah.
Or Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight. His accent as Stephen Grant is
but you know why his voice sounds like that?
Because it's a put-on accent. Because
no, not just that, but because the accent that do you know who he based it on?
Yeah, he based it on like Russell Kane and people like this.
Yeah, the Essex comedian who just sounds ridiculous as it is. So even if he'd absolutely smashed that accent, was never going to be a great accent. Was never going to be great. So Anyway, back to Palaverus. One thing that I do like specifically is you get a lot about each character that's doing, like, the archivists, regardless of them not actually talking about themselves. Palaverus has clearly met China Sorrows, because the way he refers to her as, like, adoring her, she's beautiful, this sort of stuff, is then immediately juxtaposed with Rux, who's like, what is this fucking obsession with China Sorrows? I don't get it. Like, and I loved that.
The bit where he describes China shooting that guy in one of the books, where he's just like, well, the bullet accidentally hit him. And what? Yeah.
He was like, oh, it's totally justified, totally fair. Of course she did. What else would she do?
And then she left the scene because she was no doubt traumatized.
Yeah. Poor China. Still beautiful. Poor her.
Yeah. I love that. But
I still think that the next person had seen China, like the next archivist, because they then said, like, she's beautiful, but she's not that beautiful. And I'm like,
I think she might have seen a picture.
Yeah, I imagine he'd seen, like, a photo of her, but not never actually met her. Because, like, I was talking to Lizzie that I have a real thing about how I think China is kind of like the Yennefer of this series, right? So for those of you who don't know, in the Witcher series, there is a sorceress called Yennefer. And in the books, it's never really explained. But in the games, it's heavily implied that Yennefer used to be unattractive. So when she was remade, because essentially once you've got your magic, you remake yourself into this new sorceress. That's why she made herself so beautiful. She knew specifically what it was she wanted to look like, and had herself completely remade. And he said that he could tell by looking at her that those things weren't true, that they had been remade, and that she was probably not very attractive prior to this. And we see throughout the entire fucking series how irritated China gets with people telling her how fucking beautiful she is. And I'm just like, I know she's done that to herself. That is a curse she has done to herself, right? Like, she's got all her sigils, she's got all of her magic. That is something that she has done intentionally, that, like, she's now just like, okay, I've made a goof. I'm not going to admit I made a goof. I'm just going to run with it, right? So anytime we see anyone that kind of, like, meets her, because even Valkyrie, and I love that you could argue that was like an Easter egg to Valkyrie's sexuality as well, like later on. Even Valkyrie's just like, she is the most beautiful person I've ever met, but doesn't actually, like, we get a description of what she looks like, but not what it is that Valkyrie specifically finds very attractive about her, just that she is incredibly beautiful. So I get the impression that Rux could not have met China. It had to be that he's either seen a recording of her, or that he's like glanced her in passing or whatever, or specifically that it was a photo and not met her in person, because otherwise the magic would just be like, oh, I love her too, you know? My thoughts.
Yeah, that makes sense.
My thoughts. But also because, Skullduggery likes to be the outlier of all kind of, like, magics anyway, because he doesn't see through his eyes. He can see through, like, the magic and stuff. He's the only one that isn't, like, immediately enamored with China either. Plus things that are discussed lightly in the most recent book as well, but we'll get to that when we get. I just want to talk about that book now. I just want to talk about it. But
that whole scene, I was cracking up horrendously. I couldn't stop.
I also really enjoy these random little like poems about people
Unrelated
that died horribly. Like, do these serve any purpose other than they're just funny?
They're just funny.
They're just to make our twisted hearts happy.
Like, fair enough. Because it's just like, beneath this dirt is our dear friend Clive, whose screams shall haunt us since he was buried alive. I'm just like, why, Landy? Who hurt you?
I mean, you should have been asking that from about 2008.
Yeah,
it's fair. Okay, so anything else you want to add about Palaverus and his chapters? Anything in that bit that you're like?
It's the least deranged.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the most normal.
And so it's interesting that he disappeared at that point.
Well, yeah, especially because he was the one that initiates the discussion about the thing that makes him disappear.
Well, yeah, but then I think that's natural. He was normal up until the moment he came across that part of the document. He's like...
Well, no, he's not. He still talks about other things after that.
I know,
when he
and
talks
it's
about
kind
that
of
thing, it's really early on.
Well, I mean, it feels like the most normal, and I guess it works differently on different people. And the more people who talk about that thing, it gets harder to ignore for longer. I don't know.
But they say it's spread like a virus, so it's probably like, and it feeds the thing. So the more it's fed, the more it's going to relay back out into.
Yeah.
As well, it's said that the Gog Magog virus is most effective in like being told to you in a specific way. So possibly the reason that it comes through more in the other archivists' work is because the previous archivists, so Rux has had one person before organizing the paperwork, and then who's after Rux? Don't make me remember names. Mordant then has had two archivists do it, and then Gamal has had three archivists before them organizing it, and they are infected by Gog Magog, so they've been organizing it in the perfect way to make someone be infected. So I'm assuming that's why, but I think it's interesting that he has the least amount of like.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because this is it's literally on like the 4th page that it's mentioned, and then that's his entire chapter is all of that, like 100 pages later. So it was just, yeah, I just thought that was really interesting, especially because like Rux barely mentions it. Like Rux doesn't really have a clue what's going on.
But I think he maybe just saw a glimpse of it, wrote it down, and then the virus took hold, and so it took longer to hit him, because then he was then trying to put things in place so that he could like someone else can carry on the story. But like I think that was almost the point, was that it was bedded in at the beginning, and then it's like the effect on everyone else that we're seeing, not really the effect on Palabrus.
Yeah.
But yes, so for Rux's sections, let's have a look. His font was different, obviously. They all have their own.
His was very messy, which I really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mine
love
was stains and rings of like coffee cups.
Yeah,
That was my
That's what I
favorite
was
thing.
about to say.
I'm like, I feel that. I feel that in my soul. I leave like rings everywhere.
I'm trying to remember what happened. Is this the section where we get more about what's his name?
I don't know.
Who are you talking about?
Skullduggery's dad. Do we find out more about
The Grog Magog bit. That's not Grog Magog, that one.
It begins with an A. It begins with an A. What's his stupid fucking name?
I can't remember his name. This
I'm gonna look, because there's an index and it has no, it's not Argedian, is it?
Index.
I literally just edited my vlog for this book.
Argedian.
Argedian was the other guy.
Oh, no, that's the wrong one. I thought it began with an A. It can't
That's
be.
what I was looking at. I was like, it isn't. I guess don't actually Fortuna.
Although, did he put it under Gog? Even though, like,
Gog Magog is mentioned several times. 22, 26, 243, 262, all the way to 409. Isthmus Anchor, Kith, Hurricane. The maggot stories tickled me. Like, just not like tickled, but like just the way those were done were quite funny.
I enjoyed the maggot stories.
Abrogate Rays.
Abrogate Rays. See, why is that not in the index?
Because it's done by his surname first, which is stupid. You only get to be alphabetical with your first name if you've just got your first name, apparently. Abrogate Gate.
Is this the section where we find out about who he married and then the list of the children? Is this
No, I think that comes under the third lady.
Oh, right, okay then. See, it all sort of blurred into one.
No, that's fair. Like, that is absolutely fair.
I mean, I'm just stupid and forget things. So.
I don't think forgetting things makes you stupid. I think that makes you forgetful.
Oh, no. They were two separate things. I'm stupid and I forget things. The combination means I don't know why.
Combination.
146.
So this section's more about Skullduggery's mum then and finding out more about her, isn't it?
Rux. Yeah, Rux. No, it is. Rux has the whole section about Abrogate Rays when it actually gets into it.
Oh, okay.
He has like part 1 by Tawdry Hepburn. And like
I found that very funny.
Mm-hmm.
Tawdry Hepburn, I was like, Landy saw an opportunity and he took it again.
Respectful of that. I love that.
But yeah, so that's the bit where it goes through basically Skullduggery's family.
See, that was interesting. I enjoyed that because that's information we haven't had before, and it very much amused me who like the names they had for people.
Did anybody else not pick up on Uther Picant until it was pointed out later?
I didn't pick it up either, and then I was like, oh.
How did I point it out? Did not realize like Uther Peccant was. I'd say Peccant. I don't know why.
No, that's the thing. In the audiobooks of the main series, they call him Peccant, but in the audiobook of this one, they called him Picant.
Rude.
And I was like, have they done that on purpose, or is that just that it's a different narrator?
That feels. Thing is with Landy, I'm always like everything has a reason. It doesn't. It fucking doesn't. Derek Landy is messing with us half the time, but it feels like everything's on purpose. So like that's why I'm like the audiobook narrators being English must have a purpose. Probably doesn't, just they wanted it to be different. And now the different like pronunciations of names, I'm like, is that something? Because I feel like it could be.
Because until you mentioned it when we were talking about it afterwards, I was like, they're the same person. Like listening to it, I did not put two and two together because I am an idiot.
Yeah, but reading it, I didn't put two and two together. I don't have the exclusive accent. I read the name Uther Peccant, and my brain went, "Cool, whoever that is."
That's what I did.
So you're like,
oh,
I didn't link.
No, I love about that because, like, even if you're, you think like when you have a moment like that, your brain goes, but remember when Omen was like, I'm going to need you to tell my teacher, Peccant, that like you're the reason I'm late, and Skullduggery just yeets himself out, knowing that he has actively avoided his siblings, like which you find out in this book and later books, and then it's just like that's why he did it. But it looks to Omen like he's just an asshole. But it's like, no, it's because that's his brother and they don't talk anymore. Like
in one of the books, when they go to him to get the memory stone thing, and he's like, oh yeah, it's just someone I know. And it's like, that's your brother. So like Valkyrie's got no idea that she's meeting a relation of the guy she's been like partnered with for the last like 15 years.
Which means, in theory, whatever descriptions we get of Peccant is roughly what Skullduggery would look like.
Yeah, but if you notice, all of the siblings are described to have different colour hair and all the rest of it, just to be annoying.
No, but like the thing is, though, you can be an individual and still look like your relatives, right? Yeah. Like, if you put me next to my brothers, I don't think I look anything like them. But you put them next to me and my cousins and my uncles and aunts, yeah, there's a similarity there. So you can kind of like filter it down. Plus, I guess if you're the child of a god, it's gonna make it kind of tricky to look all the same anyway, you know?
But to be fair,
you know why Becca Abby disappeared?
No.
Because it's you're back. Okay. You're right.
Chris.
Oh, okay. That's fair enough.
He's off doing things, so I was just.
No, that's fine. I was just like, I didn't know if you were like, because the last 2 times you've disappeared, Abby, it's because of spoilers. So I was like, did we miss something? I don't know.
You are finally as up to date.
Mm.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah. Finally.
Oh, and you weren't here last time, and I was like, I really wish you were here last time because I wanted to congratulate you on how well your poker face was because of the whole Alice thing and how I mentioned that fucking months ago and you managed to not break once. I was like, I just needed to congratulate you, and now you're here so I can congratulate you.
Inside, every time you're like, she's fucking evil, that baby's evil, and I'm like, yes, she is.
The whole way through that last live stream, like as soon as it finished, I messaged you, didn't I? And I was like, "You've got to rewatch this live stream because
it's on my watch later playlist." But we were looking for places for the wake, so unfortunately, I was otherwise detained.
Yeah.
No, like fair enough. You had like legit stuff to get. Like a live stream is always going to come second to real life stuff.
My mother-in-law's
right?
Yes,
for sure. It was just I really wished you had been there so that I could have.
I know. I really like. if it hadn't been what it was, wouldn't have missed it for the world. Like, if it hadn't been something that was like this important, I'd be like, no, like, screw, I don't know, going shopping and spending a day with you. No, live stream. But we had to
To be fair, that makes you a better fan than Lizzie, who, you know, binned us off to go get drinking. So
I mean,
get drinking. Sorry,
go get drinking.
What's that sentence, Hannah?
Go get drinking. Go get drinking.
I will
Go, summer, get drinking.
when I say finding a place for the wake, that sounds a lot better than the wake's gonna be in a pub. So I was
Look,
also drinking.
Abby, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Go get drinking.
That will be me on Thursday. Please do not contact me on Thursday. I will be drinking and crying. That's the day of the funeral.
Okay. I will not contact you. I will contact you on Friday instead.
When I'm
Saying,
hungover and
did
crying.
you go get drinking? Yeah.
May message you at midnight. Go chug some water. Don't get hungover.
Eat lots of bread.
Have you eaten bread? Shit. The thing is, they're joking about this, but one of the three of them will now message me at like midnight saying, go drink water, go eat bread. And I know for a fact that Chris is going to be like, why are they so caring? Every time I'm like, oh yeah, no, these guys are messaging. Like, why do they care? I don't know. Because they're nice people, Chris. It's not my fault you don't have nice people in your life.
Okay, so going back to the book.
Yes.
One thing that I really enjoyed was how petty Valkyrie was about Skullduggery stealing her plot twist. And the fact that she specifically waited, she specifically set him up, and then she stole it, and he was just like, do you feel better now? Yes. Like, I love
it twice, didn't she?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, she did twice.
She was like, yeah, you do it to me, you don't get any.
But their banter the whole way through this book was so good. Like the way he's going, I preferred life before I met you. Lies. Bits like that. I just loved all those little bits the whole way through.
It
I
was
really
the bit
enjoyed
where...
seeing. Oh, go on.
No, you go.
I liked seeing the adult perspectives of. I mean, Skullduggery obviously was always an adult, but he's changed a lot interacting with Val. And then, you know, Valkyrie went from a literal child, and she's responding now kind of between our ages, like in the bracket of how old we are, to what she was when she was 12. And it's really fun because essentially that's what we were doing when we read like the first few books. We're like, this is stupid. And she's like, this was stupid. So I just love that we were able to kind of get like the same person's response, like see her response to it from an adult point of view. It was a lot of fun. I like that.
Yeah. I have forgotten what I was going to say. That's really annoying. And I literally, up until you finish, and then I went, no, it's gone.
I offered for you to go first. I offered.
Someone else say something, and then I'll interrupt you with it, because that'll be the only way that I remember.
So the banter between them.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows where to go with the discussion now. So it's them insulting each other.
I did enjoy the audiobook of cutting in, and every now and again, how it felt. Yes, Hannah, does that remind you of what you're going to
Yeah, it did. No, it genuinely did. Thank you. So it was the bit where Skullduggery does like his little monologue, because he's just like, they won't put all of this in. And Valkyrie's like, yes, they will. It's an archive. He's like, no, they'll just keep my best bits. Well, to be fair, they're all my best bits. And it's just like, no. Like, all of that, the ramblings, really enjoyed that.
The section where he says, I have tasted the darkness. And Valkyrie's going, what? Did you have a darkness sandwich?
Yeah.
So good.
That reminds me of, I can't remember which archivist said it, but saying like, oh, they'll edit this out, but if you're reading this or listening to this, I guess they didn't. I love that. Was one of my favorite bits because it was so clever. It was like, oh yeah, there just feels like someone who's just, you know, chilling out, trying to eat breakfast or something, having a cup of coffee, being like, they'll edit out all my slurping sounds. No, they don't. They don't though. No.
I'm assuming that must have been Rux, just from the fact of like how messy.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Just with how messy his was, I'm assuming.
Because it's almost like verbatim. It's almost like his brain has just switched off completely and he's just typing up stuff, not really taking it in.
I couldn't remember like who said it, but it was a very interesting, like, fun thing where it's just like, well, I guess if you're listening or reading this, then
because he's also the one where he starts going like, I feel like there's something watching me, and like all like the creepy vibes start with him, as opposed to the other guy that's just disappears.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's never explained. So is there anything else you want to say about Rux's chapter? Because like I don't want to go through necessarily like their breakdown of all the books, because to be honest, if you're watching this, you've either caught up with us at this point or you're going too soon. I do want to say that I really enjoyed the graphic novel.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm flicking through trying to find the bit where he says it, and I've just found the bit where Rux mentions that he had Archivist's elbow, a debilitating yet very mild sprain. I'm so sorry, continue with the comic book.
My Archivist's elbow, we all hate to see it.
I was just about to say about the comic book. I loved how they weaved it in, saying, "Oh, it was like a sensitive who drew it as it happened," and just shovel.
Yeah. No, the shovel bit was like I would love to have that just like framed in like an A1 print. Do you know what I mean? And it was might be my new cat fridge. I like it.
Abby, did I message you at that point? Going, shovel when I read it.
She just messaged me, just shovel, and I was like, shovel, shovel.
Like just that panel. Maybe what I'll do is I'll get that panel, but just like as a tattoo, like there on my arm.
Do it.
I don't have any tattoos, and I've genuinely been thinking about getting a sparrow.
Lizzie and I were discussing the other day about getting skullduggery pleasant tattoos, and I said that we should all four of us get one, but have them so that they're like 4 skulls with different, like the hat on a different skull depending on
that'd
like
be
which one of us
amazing.
it is that has it.
That would be cool.
I already have one skeleton on me, so why not add another?
Why not add another? Exactly. And I just think it'd be a nice way to commemorate it, you know?
The thing is, I would probably still go and get a skullduggery pleasant tattoo, just because why not? Because I have all nerdy tattoos, so why not add another one?
Why not? I don't have any tattoos. I'm like you, Abby. I don't have any yet.
I'd love some, but I do not have the permanence of like being happy with the decision for long enough.
No.
Yeah, believe me, I have made many mistakes with my tattoos. Many mistakes.
I want tattoos, but A, my mother would kill me, and B, I have the most debilitating needle phobia you've ever seen in your life. So
it's a different kind of needle, and I fainted the last time I had a vaccine that wasn't the COVID one. Those were fine. But the last time I did, it's a different kind of needle, though.
I had to take a lorazepam to get my COVID shots, and I was basically drunk. I've never been drunk in my life, but I was unbelievably out of it. The only
after all the injections I had to get for my migraines, I find it funny when people ask me if I'm okay with needles. It was 32 injections in my head and neck, so both around here, like both sides mirrored. So around here, some up here, some there, and then all the way down here, and they are very painful in the forehead.
See,
like, are you okay with needles? I'm like, please just jab me.
Please just jab me. Sorry to interrupt. There is a character who is quite clearly a funeral person called Paul Bearer.
Oh God, that's only just fallen in.
Oh Christ, Becca!
I got clairvoyant.
Puns.
Of course, he did. I nearly said, of course, Skullduggery did the puns. No, Derek Landy did the puns.
Skullduggery does do the puns, though. To be fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is in the Mordant section that we get a whole Abrogate Rays Part 3 breakdown. What did we think about finally finding out about Skullduggery's family? Especially because in theory, we found out about his family before Valkyrie did.
I really like that we got this information, because without spoiling until the end, it was so nice to find out this information. Because it was like, he's been a mystery for so long that it was just like, oh, finally we have names. At the very least, we have names. And a little bit of... It explains so much, is all I can say. Like, with the whole mother situation and all the rest of it, and like, who his mother was, I'm like, oh, right, that explains everything. Like...
I feel like if it wasn't in there, I'd be really, wondering what the point of this book was. Other than, oh, here's a summary. Like, I feel like it felt right before the final book in the series to have, like, who Skullduggery is without, like... I guess it boils down to it doesn't really matter who Skullduggery is, but here you go anyway, because I know people have wanted the answer for ages. And it does set the stuff up for the final book very well, in my opinion. And you suddenly see characters you may have met before, but now you know who the fuck they are. Like, like particularly that one, right? So I feel like it did a really good job of like hinting towards what we could see in the next book without
And
saying
it added something to this because Becca does not anymore, has done vlogs for all of the books, spoiler filled. And so she messaged me, say like, because she knew I'd read this already. Like, is there any point before she started it? Is there any point in vlogging this recap summary? Like, she knew she was going to enjoy it, but like, is there any point vlogging it? And I was like, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then she got to all of the juice, and she was like, "Thank you."
Yeah, so thank God for that, because I was like, I didn't want to spend the entire time just commenting on everything that had happened before.
That had already happened, and I was like, "No, I promise, it will be worth it."
So it was like, I didn't just want to be sat there going, "Oh, that's a pretty picture. Oh, that's a good bit of banter." You know, I wanted to make sure that this was going to be a vlog of some substance, and it just needed me going, "Oh my God!" Like, what? And then I actually cut out a bit, but I did film a bit where I was like, Abby, I apologize for your inbox right now. I did cut that out because I was just like, I have messaged you a lot, and that was the day my internet went down because some little arsehole decided to set fire to the internet box, and it knocked out 3 villages, which was fun. So I have 36 hours without internet. So I was like, right then, I'm gonna have to read the book now because I was gonna do something else, and I was like, well, I'm gonna have to read the book. Sorry, Abby, this is screwing our buddy read up, but never mind. And I just went for it and then messaged you in the small bit of internet I had. I finished messaging you, and then the internet died again. I was like, are you kidding? Oh, that whole bit had me screaming.
It did. It actually did.
Yeah.
She screamed a lot.
Yeah, I know. And you couldn't even hear me, but I was screaming. There was a lot of cap lock.
It was a lot of caps lock. I enjoyed that.
It was. It just cap locked the entire time. But here's a question that I also gave Abby. Every single one of Skullduggery's siblings has a different last name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which makes probably making a family tree really difficult if this happens with all of the sorcerer families. If all of them take different last names, keeping up with who's actually related to who must be absolutely impossible. Without
I don't know. I imagine it's something they're emotionally more prepared for than we are because they're used to like having. Because like if you think about it, there are certain names that are legacy names, right? So Omen and Augur Darkly are legacy names. Omen chose the Omen part of it, but the Darkly bit and Augur bit was something specifically related to their family. Other than that, they can choose other elements about it. So you can make it up and you can add things that kind of show what your personality are. You're not going to forget who you're related to. And I feel like it's just like when someone else has like a nickname, that changes, but like who they are. Do you know what I mean?
Did I misunderstand this then? Because I thought they were given that name until they chose it when this like certain thing happened.
They chose that name. Both Augur and Omen chose. They were given some other sort of name in the meantime as children, but they chose that under pressure. It's mentioned in one of the books. I don't remember which.
I completely missed that, but that makes that even more interesting. Okay, now I'm going to have to ponder that. Thanks, guys.
It's mentioned in whichever book it is where they break into Ghastly's vault, like back in the original series. And it's mentioned there that they have crests, and that's how you carry on the quote-unquote family name. It's through these crests. And then, yeah, like Hannah said, in terms of like being more prepared for it, like in our society, it's the stereotype. So then if you go back, it's just kind of the norm that if you're looking for women, you're going to have to look for changes of names. And we know to look at that. And we've got the like signifier that says Ni previous name, like my mum, Ni maiden name. And so you'd know, like they would probably have some sort of record of like how to then link them, even if it is just somehow linking them to the family crest.
Mm-hmm. And it's also less misogynistic because the Darkly name was their mother's.
Mm-hmm.
So but it's not their father's name. Yeah. So it's things like that is I quite like that because I think I was reading somewhere the other day that was like, even if you keep your mother's maiden name, that's technically still a name belonging to a man. It's just not the man you know. And I'm just like, still like, it's that kind of thing. So I quite like that in the society where you can pick and choose your name, you know, it does make it considerably less patriarchal.
Because I want to keep my name. Like, if I ever get married, and Chris is like, why not? Why won't you take my name? I'm like, well, why don't you take mine? He's like, I don't want to. I'm like, there we go. That's my name.
I forget what your surname is every time I go to send you something. Every single time.
I know, because I recently, so at the beginning-ish of the month, she sent me Atlas 6. And I'm not even joking. Like, I'm this close to going and get it out of the recycling because it's in the kitchen right now. The box says Abby, brackets of Pelennor.
Because I forget every time. And I was so tempted to just leave it as Abby. I was like, you'll know it's for you.
Well, if it makes you
every
feel
time.
better, so that I know where it's come from, my Amazon wishlist address, it's like, I've obviously put my proper address in, but my name on it is just Abby Pelennor. So that I know that it's come from the wishlist.
I'm getting like really bad deja vu. I feel like we've had this conversation before, but like...
I found it, by the way.
Cool.
On page 110 in my edition. I don't know how different the pages can be in this with it being multimedia. But page 110, it's Rooks's section. The title is A Note from the Archivist. And that is the cantaloupe. Near the bottom. Here's an experiment. If you can read me saying cantaloupe right now, that means nobody has edited me and this book was rushed into print without the proper checks. Cantaloupe.
But that's not going to happen. Yeah, it is. It is on page 110 for me as well.
I'm pretty sure the archive department has standards, although they did hire me, so yeah, they don't have standards.
Peace out. Yeah.
Also, like, I'm not sure, obviously, like what Lizzie's doing. She'll be back in a moment, but I'm just living for the avatar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Every time. Every time.
Yes.
So mordant. What does mordant mean? What does that word actually mean? I've heard it before. You
could use arsenic as a mordant to make the dye stay in clothing.
So it, as an adjective, it means having a type of humor that is particularly sharp or critical or biting. A substance, typically an inorganic oxide that combines with a dye and stain, like you said. A corrosive liquid, or verb to impregnate or treat.
That's a hell of a what? How does that have that many meanings?
So I'm like, is she sharp? Is she toxic? Is she both?
Is she sexy? Impregnate.
Oh.
Maybe that should have been China's name.
Not mordant.
Yeah. Sharp, toxic.
Also, I will say, nothing is mentioned about any of the archivists' genders.
No.
In the actual thing. So,
no.
Becca, did you do this all physically as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't know their gender. I had no idea Mordant was a female.
No. Oh, see, I just, the narrator is. It's the only time female, like the narrator is female. Like,
so is Mordant the only female?
Well, yeah, because Palaverus and Rux were men, and I'm pretty sure Gavel was men.
Okay, cool. Because in my head, I just had them all as blokes.
That's fair.
Which is probably, indicative of the patriarchy in my brain, but still, I just kind of was like, okay, it's just a load of blokes. So you saying Mordant she, and I'm like, I mean, I'll run with it, but I didn't know she was a she.
Who is she? Who is this she of which you speak?
Oh, it's she. I thought Mordant was a he. Mordant is not a he.
I don't know if there's anything in the thing that no, maybe not.
No, I don't think any of them mention anything really.
No.
And it's not going to be helped, obviously, that it's written by a man. Like, he does a pretty good job writing from the female perspective when we read it, but, like, still a dude.
Still a dude. I wasn't sure if it was, like, in the next one where they're like, oh.
Let's see. Gamel. No, Gamel's start doesn't say, it just says archivist Mordant has gone missing.
Yeah.
The disappearance of all 3 archivists who were working on it. They don't mention the gender of any of them, so
I also really enjoyed my request for a 24-hour security team has not been approved. Like, I've very much been left by myself on this one.
You can just
Yeah,
imagine that they've just dumped them in like the basement of the sanctuary and gone, you just need to get this done. We don't care.
Yeah.
Well, literally, the note from the archivist that is Mordant is when she says, "Please excuse the brevity and what is to follow. This project is behind schedule, and I shall be cutting corners where necessary." Just like, bitch, I don't care anymore. This just needs done. But yes, so Mordant. Let's have a look. Oh, that's when it starts getting all confusing. The Age of the Maggot, Part 4. Maggot.
You're right there, Lizzie.
Yes, Mordant crosses the bits between the old series and the new series.
Mhm.
And also, at that cross point, they have a note from the archivist. They have a small note from the archivist, and then they go into Resurrection, which is the first one in the new series. But the note from the archivist mentions Rux's gender, because it says it is their opinion that he simply walked away. So I think because they, as far as I can tell, they've not mentioned the genders for anyone else. So I think I was just like, okay, they've not mentioned the gender. We live in a patriarchal society. I assume they're all dudes.
That's fair. That's fair.
But yeah. Who has thoughts about Mordant? Although, Lizzie, did you, one, you're still muted. I don't know if you mean to be. And two, did you hear our discussion about the meaning of the word Mordant?
Yes, that it's sharp and something. I was listening. I was just
Sharp and
Wonderful.
horny.
oh.
Well, I'm just
Okay.
I'm just deciding it means that. It's fine.
Okay. Interesting. I found her chapters probably the most enjoyable. To be honest. I don't know why, but I found it the most enjoyable. I think it just got weird.
Well,
I think that's
yeah, some of the stuff like really starts to like kick up because the next guy comes in terrified. So I feel like at that point it's like
This is the ramping up of the tension where it's still not like obvious. Like it is obvious, but it's not obvious. Like, you know, when you're in something and you don't realize what's going on, it's that. And so she doesn't know what's going on, and you know that she doesn't know. And so kind of seeing everything start to kind of go weird from that point of view is a lot of fun versus from Gamel's point of view, he's just like, what's happening to me?
Yeah. I like the fact that she's just like, they think he walked away, but I've been listening to his ramblings and I've reported it in their hands now. And then just like carries on with her. She gives me such vibes of I don't get paid enough, you know? Wait, what's that one?
That's I can't say his name properly because I've never listened to the audiobooks. Damocles Creed.
Damocles.
Oh,
Creed.
Damocles, yeah.
Damocles, okay.
Damocles. Damocles!
I'm sorry, is that worse than how I used to say our protagonist's name?
I don't know. I think it is. Damocles.
Wait, how did you
Damocles Creed.
pronounce? Now you need to tell me how you pronounced.
I know how you properly say it.
Yeah.
I know how you say Valkyrie. However, I had never heard of the Norse mythology roots for this name ever before in my life when I read this when I was 11. And my parents, by this point, I was enough of an avid reader that they were not going to like permit me to come down like, how do you say this for every word? So I just had to learn myself. So it was Valkyrie.
Oh, yeah, that's why Damocles is worse. Because like Valkyrie, you're so close, right? Damocles.
Damocles.
Damocles. Damocles.
That doesn't sound at all villainous, does it?
Right? As opposed
He
to
doesn't
Damocles.
look villainous. He looks like a giant egg.
Now, remember, I'd just like to say, remember when you said these were supposed to be taken as reference? Let's just remind everyone that it's a reference drawing, it's not an actual drawing.
For Eggman. Mm-hmm.
Oh god, don't say Eggman. I'll think of Sonic the Hedgehog. Just imagine it was Jim Carrey.
Oh, I didn't realise that because I knew like Damocles was from something, right? And it's the Damocles sword is the ever-present peril faced by those in a position of power. So you know that like old fable about like the king who like someone was like, oh, like being king must be super easy, and he's like, okay, well you can be king for a day tomorrow, and he hangs the sword by the single horsehair. Have you heard this story before?
No, but I am aware of the concept of it.
Okay, so the idea is that like it's the sword that is constantly hanging over you, and a horsehair is just strong enough to hold the sword above your head, but it could snap at any moment. And it's the fear that that sword is going to come and fall down onto your head and kill you. That is like the feeling that you have as a king, is that constant fear that it could all crumble and that it's your responsibility and you can't move out of the way of it or whatever. It's there. I didn't realize that's what that is. So the idea, when I was like, oh yeah, no, Damocles, he's going to take over. Everything's going to go horribly wrong. Yeah, no wonder I feel such impending doom. A character named Damocles, like it's such a old school reference, and I think because there are so many like pop culture reference, did I expect it to be a Dionysus 4th century BC ruler? No, I didn't.
Well,
Didn't
that's
see that coming in.
underestimated Landy. Never
Well,
underestimated.
I think I overestimated my own ability to recognize a reference, to be honest, as opposed to Landy. Would never underestimate Landy.
True.
Democles.
Do leave my Democles alone. My Democles debacles.
Leave my Democles alone.
Do we have anything else to say about Mordant?
I'm good.
Because I have something to say about Gamel. Or Gamel. Gamel.
Yeah. Go on.
Go on, how the fuck do you say this one?
Gamel.
Right, good.
That was almost as good as Hannah Shut Up, which I also had the same energy as Hannah Shut Up without you actually saying Hannah Shut Up. Loved it.
This was the intent. I'm glad it came across correctly. Lizzie had said about like, oh, you found Mordant's bit the easiest to read / listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Remembering that I already did this with my eyes, I fucking hate reading Gamel's bit. I hate it. It's awful. It's
Yeah.
awful.
It's
Like-
the O's being coloured in.
Yeah, like I can deal with the typewriter font. That's fine. I've read many a thing in typewriter font, but it just the coloured in O's are just awful.
Yeah, because it makes you want to emphasise every single O, which makes it sound really weird in your head.
Yeah,
See,
and I did not.
I think that was an interesting, like, formatting choice, though, because the typewriter thing is like, okay, well, we've had handwritten, we've had whatever, I can't remember what Mordant's was, but like now we've got typewriter face and typewriter like font, and I find that was really interesting. And I also think that the O's is like almost the virus taking hold, like officially, because even because Gamel's like, what the fuck is going on, kind of thing, and like he's going more and more like, what is all this? This is not what I was expecting.
Artistically, fantastic choice.
Yeah,
it's just a pain in the ass to read.
That's why I was glad
I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it because to me that is a thing that typewriters do. So I was like, my brain didn't necessarily spend ages trying to emphasize anything. It was just like, this is the font now.
I didn't try and like emphasize things. I just didn't like it. My brain did not enjoy reading in this method. My favorite bit of this chapter was the bit about Abrogate when it's in a different font. Where is
Do you think that might have been the point? That it was meant to be a bit uncomfortable to read?
Probably, yes. This didn't make me enjoy it anymore. This is the thing. Like, I understand all of the possible artistic points that he could have been making. And I think that if he did do them on purpose, all of them, fantastic. That makes total sense. But it's still a ball ache to read.
Yeah. That's why I'm glad I picked up the audiobook by the end.
This is skullduggery in the art.
Very different. Confused by the scarf.
I mean, it's just part of the suit, isn't it?
A scarf? He's worn scarves.
That might be the tattoo I get. Just that.
You said
him being like,
you said this was all done by the same. I can't remember his name, but it's the same artist that has done all the covers.
I mean, it was on like the Wikipedia page, so that might be a lie, but
Yeah.
I assume it is the truth because people can change Wikipedia all the time. But
You say that, but it's surprisingly difficult to change Wikipedia.
yeah, I know, but like,
No! I've seen it. Okay, I was going to say something and it would have been wrong. One, the name was Tom Percival. It's written down here, so I've been able to check it. 2, I was gonna say that it was impressive of all the different art styles. No. In the front of the book, the illustrations, they've given them copyright to each individual. So Francis Castle, Owen Cook, Matthew Land, Joe Lillington, Tom Percival, Adam Stower, Thomas Lavtomic, that's one of them, did all the different illustrations. And I imagine, like, it shows their pages that they have the illustrations on. And I imagine if you go and check them all in order, that they're probably the same style. I would guess. So I want to know who did Skullduggery. What page is he on? 362.
Has anyone noticed, though, speaking of the things, there's no portrait of Tanith?
Oh, she was pissed off about this. Oh, that's interesting. Sorry. The one who did Nefarian Serpine, that we said looked like a series of unfortunate events, is the same person who drew Skullduggery.
No.
Like, I see it, but
I love that we all were in the exact same tone. We did the same head bob. We're all having a great day.
we've all been taken over by Gog Magog.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
With
yeah.
the tennis comment, though,
Mm.
I don't remember seeing China on any of the cover arts, but we have seen Tanith numerous times on
The
the.
China is on cover arts. She
Yeah,
is.
China is on the
China's
cover.
on at
She's
least
on like
one.
the first one.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Is she?
I don't remember
Yeah.
that.
First or second one.
Well, she's
No,
not
not on that one.
No, not on those ones. On like
Yeah,
the
I'm
new
just on a quick
ones.
On the remade ones, yeah.
Let me see if I can get a photo up for you.
But yeah, Tanith is like, she's like on the cover, and then like Maleficent 7, she is the cover.
Yeah.
So at least she's kind of had her moment in the spotlight.
Like, I feel like we all kind of know what Tanith looks like now, whereas China, I think, was still up in the air quite a lot, wasn't she? And we'd heard so much about China and how beautiful
Which
she
was
was.
possibly on purpose, because
Mm.
obviously it's supposed to be the most beautiful woman in the world. So it's like, whatever you think is the most beautiful, everyone's going to have a different opinion of what that is. So it's kind of dangerous, like putting her down in here anyway. But at the same time, everyone's going to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, she's literally on the very, very first one. It's Serpine, China, and Ghastly.
Oh, I never realised that before.
It's not the same art style as the way that they've drawn her in that, but it is like, you can see that being the same human. Like, you can see that the same human is just in a different art style for those two. So I'm guessing Tom didn't do China. I don't know who did. Tom, as if I know him.
I was going to say, it was really funny. Lizzie and I were talking about how I refer to people in my, like, and how we both refer to authors in our videos. And there is a moment where I refer to Sarah J. Maas as Sarah in a wrap-up, and you just see me cringe.
It's horrible.
Because the literature student in me is like, that's so disrespectful. And when we were at the signing on Monday, people kept talking about Derek Landy as Derek. And I was like, I'm sorry, are we personal friends with Derek now? And I kept referring to him as Mr. Landy, like intentionally to go the other way. But
I just do the very impersonal student version of just surname.
Yeah.
Also,
That's weird.
science are just their surnames.
I never realised that the car is also on the front cover, just tucked away there to the side. Never realised that.
I'm sorry, Hannah, you now need to go through all of them and see if any of the other atrocious cars appear on the covers.
I doubt it. It's just the good one.
I want the canary.
I want the canary
yeah.
too.
Well, I feel like we'd notice that, though, if that was on a cover. It's kind of hard to miss. That's the point.
There's the headless horse from the
Skeleton Man, the one who drew the skeleton and who drew Nefarious, also did China. That's Matthew Land. So yeah, it isn't Tom Percival. But like, you can tell it's the same person, similar, like, just in different styles, which I think is cool.
The Wikipedia is wrong about something. Who knew that could happen? The best reference site ever.
They're not technically wrong though. They're just not right.
They're just not fully correct.
Yeah, some of them.
So we've hinted at Gog Magog, but not actually discussed. And I don't know if that's because we're worried that by doing so, we will bring the virus to fruition. But I'm not going to lie, the idea of this virus spreading unbidden felt a bit on the nose, Mr. Landy. We're in a literal pandemic. but you know.
See, the
Again,
thing is, he'd already had to rewrite the entire second season because of Donald Trump. So I wonder how much of this. Oh, for anyone who doesn't know, who happens to be watching, he'd planned out Martin Flannery as a character anyway. He basically is Donald Trump, and he was like, "Well, shit, I need to change it now. I can't just have that." So I wonder how much of this was planned, because obviously, given that it's about skullduggery, like this could have been from halfway through the series they had this planned. So it's like, how much of this was planned, and how much of this was like new? Like, did he just say, "Fuck it, I'm not changing something else because of the world being stupid"? I wonder, but yes, it was very on the nose.
I thought the reveal of it was clever.
Mm.
I thought the whole reveal of like, because we'd heard about Abrogate Rays or whatever, like said the entire thing, and it's like, who the fuck is this? Why is he important? Oh, because he's so he's Gog Magog, right? So then it was like, oh, now these things connect, and now where does it go? So like I thought it was interesting. I thought it was fun.
can we just appreciate how stupid of a name Gog Magog is? It was a bit like, where did that name come from? This is the god of the apocalypse. Couldn't you have come up with something?
And it annoys me that it's not quite a palindrome. It's so close.
Oh,
It did
Gog
that-
Magog is a thing.
Of course.
Okay,
It is.
so right. After we said about how the names of Damocles had meanings, I was like, oh, maybe abrogate and Gog Magog do as well, right? They do. So abrogate means to repeal or do away with, to revoke, rescind, overturn, overrule, or to evade, right?
Ooh.
So sneaking away, hiding things, taking them back. Gog Magog is so on Wikipedia, but it is also referenced straight to the Bible, and then there's 100 different Bible verses here. Is from the Hebrew Bible and Quran, as individuals, tribes, or lands that were first. The Gog was a prophecy meant to be fulfilled at the approach of what is now known as the end of days, but not necessarily the end of the world. Apparently, it was when the enemies would be defeated by the Messiah, which would usher in the new age of the Messiah and Christianity as it is interpreted in a modern way. More starkly apocalyptic, making Gog and Magog here indicating nations rather than individuals. Allies against Satan. Allies of Satan against God.
What the fuck?
Basically, Gog Magog is literally a biblical reference to the end of days and Satan worshippers.
Hannah, we were just saying while we were at the signing how amazing it is that Derek Landy's books aren't super religious. Well, shit.
To be fair, the thing is, it was one of these things where it wasn't super biblical. Having a biblical reference, I mean, spit in your hit one. Do you know what I mean? They're everywhere because there's just so much in there, and it's one of those things where, especially in the UK, you don't really get a choice in whether you're going to be indoctrinated into Christianity or not. That's part of the course. In Ireland, even worse, right? Because you've got Catholicism and Protestants still arguing, still not agreeing that their God is the right God, even though it's literally the same dude. But
that's half of the issue of the fucking Troubles,
right?
That's what I mean, though. It was surprising that because of all that it wasn't more prevalent. So it's interesting that is a very specific.
But that's what I'm saying. It's if you're saying, oh, Gog Magog, is a kid going to work that out? No. Me as a 30-year-old did not know that. I had to Google it to find out, and I just feel like it is Derek Landy just being classic Derek Landy and having a right old chuckle to himself. He knows he's named it after basically the end of days,
which is incredibly well timed
and
until the end.
Now I'm annoyed that we didn't have this discussion before I went to go see him, because now I want to know, did he know Gog Magog as a thing? Was he already aware of Gog Magog, or did he go looking for names that he could use?
Interesting.
I've got a vision of all of us going to Yauk one year, and he'll be there, and we're just going to press gang him with questions.
Mr. Landy, because we don't refer to him as Derek.
No, it's fine. I can take one for the team, guys. I was angry at him the last time he saw me. He seen me coming from a mile away. Right, yeah. I have more.
If you pop up in the same purple jacket, he'll know it's you.
Yeah.
Literally, Lizzie's Yeah, you'd see it coming a mile away. But no, I just think it's fascinating because it's really hard not to do those things, right?
Right, that redacted line is not redacted in the audiobook. It's
What?
not redacted in the audiobook.
What does it
Because
say?
I was reading, at this point, I was reading along with it and I went, wait, what?
What's it say?
I think I can fucking remember one line, guys. It goes one out, one in one ear, out the fucking other. Sorry.
What was the page?
On mine, it's 392.
You can't do this to us. Come on.
I'm not. Do you want me to like listen to the audiobook to find that specific thing? I can't because
Yes.
Hannah's my edition. I don't have an edition of the actual book with me, so I don't know what it would be.
Let me see if I can find it.
Because it's very specific and it threw me when I was reading it because I remember I was like, why is it not? Oh, it's not redacted in the audiobook.
I don't know how the audiobook is laid out. Does it help you, Hannah, to know that it's part 5 of Abrogate Race? It's also quite near the end of Gamel's section.
Don't think it does. I
Like
think
Gamel's
it's
section ends at like 410, and this is on page like 392.
I don't think it does, but I'm going to try.
Because just for
I'm gonna
context,
mute myself whilst I work it out. So
I'm sorry
For
for blowing
context,
everyone's minds, but
this is telling us.
because I didn't even notice that it was redacted. It's only when you guys started kicking off. Because like I said, I just did the audiobook. So
at this
thing-
point I was reading along, so that's
the
how
thing-
I
I
picked
won't
it
say
up.
what it is. I won't say what happens, but the sentence before it's backed out is, wary of his reputation for defying death, they bound his magic, chained him, and secured him in a black coffin, which was then blacked out. But we have all read until the end. Now, we won't spoil anything, just in case someone is watching who hasn't read it yet. But we all know, even, like, obviously Lizzie knows, because they fucking read it, but we now all know what that most likely says. Like, I can guess what that says. But why the fuck did you get the unredacted version?
Audiobook. Because I was expecting it, because I was reading along with it, and I was expecting it to do the whole like blurred voice kind of thing, and then it didn't.
Because there's another bit that's redacted later on, like a few pages later, on 408. They chain him and lock him in a coffin and blanked out. And again, like, I can't say it, but Becca, I'm assuming you're guessing along the same vibes as me, that they
Yeah.
just say, you know, like,
Yeah.
but we sods! We shitting sods!
It was really interesting to me that it was chosen not to redact it in the audiobook, though, because I thought they'd do some weird audio thing with
Like,
it. Because you can do that, yeah.
Yeah, just
Like,
have
sort of like white noise. Like, it goes to like white noise and then comes back again.
Yeah.
Being censored, but it doesn't.
I found it, by the way. But I also muted you
one?
guys
'Cause
because I couldn't
I
hear
don't
that
know.
in the audiobook. So once there we go. Now you're back. So
Which
I'm going
one have you discovered there's two?
There's
the
two
one
redacted.
where about chained. Well, the other one's after this one. This is the first
Yeah.
one. So I can find the other one in a sec, but I've put it back down to 1.5. If that's still too fast, let me know because there is time before it. No, that's ringtone. Don't want that. Anyway.
September 22nd, 1800. When Petulance, Mirror, and Respair were out of the country, the other 7 descended on the Grand Manor in upstate New York where Abrogate was staying. Ignoring the reflection that Abrogate sent to distract them, they found their father, and the ensuing battle tore the manor asunder and scorched the grounds, until, finally, they had him surrounded. Using a variety of techniques and weaponry, they succeeded in subduing him. Wary of his reputation for defying death, they bound his magic, chained him, and secured him in a black coffin, which was then buried in an undisclosed location.
Well,
that's it.
technically, technically that is true. It is an undisclosed location.
And that would fit in the section that's blacked out as well. But then why is it blacked out?
Oh yeah, so that bit will be the same thing again because it's literally like repeated.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is obviously we find out in Until the End
More
where
out.
that undisclosed location is.
I just assumed that the blackout, like, I thought Lizzie had got some sort of like insight and was
Yeah.
told about the thing that happens in Until the End. And no, they just, because we said when you were when you had us muted, me and Lizzie agreed, like, they should have like had it like go a static or something, which was then wow, the Covenant of the, like, they should have done that.
Mm.
But it was very weird. It was very like it threw me a bit because I was reading along at the time, and I was like, "Why was it not redacted in the audiobook?"
Ooh, unless it's not that it's in an undisclosed location, because obviously Skullduggery in Until the End knows where it is. That's the
Well,
like
yes,
that's one of their storylines. So it's in an undisclosed location, the fact that it's redacted, because in the actual
But then if
unredacted
it
version,
is,
it's the real place.
but then if it is, I think that wasn't the right decision for the audiobook, because it doesn't give you the same vibes as what the book does. The book very clearly is like, you can't know this, whereas it just seems as though they don't know.
Yeah, but I guess it's if they didn't, I get what you're saying, and I think I agree with the fact that they should have been like white out or whatever it is, like the weird noise, but it could be that it's a balance of the two, and that they haven't said, because they do go into where it is in Until the End.
But stylistically, they're saying like they shouldn't be editing anything out of this. That would feel really odd if it was supposed to be like the redacted section, just because stylistically throughout the entire thing, it's been like, oh yeah, they're just talking into a recorder. Like that's how the audiobook felt. So I don't know. It's an interesting one to look at, because it looks like it could fit in the redacted bit too. So it's like, why did they redact that in the book if they didn't in the audiobook?
If it had just been in the bit from Audrey Hepburn rather than Gamel, then I would have said that they should have done 100% should have done the white noise. But then there's a bit that's redacted in the Gamel section as well.
Yeah, but it's the same. It's the same preface
Yeah.
sentence. So it's
But I'm just saying, like, if they were gonna do that and like not just have it as undisclosed location, like they could have done if it was in her section, because that could have been edited and they've just spliced it in, sort of thing. Is what I meant.
Interesting.
Oh, the humanity.
The humanity.
I don't know why that's how I imagine Gamel speaks, but that's what I'm going for. Oh, the humanity.
Anything else you want to add about Grimoire?
I mean, we've already mentioned the fact that, well, we don't know how Picant and the rest of the siblings came back, or how they died. Actually,
no,
that was brutal how they died in its way.
But I guess if they're, born of someone who can defy death, it makes sense that his offspring would also be able to defy death. Does that mean Skullduggery can't die?
I thought we'd established that in a manner.
I think we don't know. I think that's the point, because Skullduggery makes the point a lot of the time he doesn't really know.
Yeah, like they know that he has to come back, but they don't know if he can die.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I think the only thing about Grimoire is, I would say, if you've read the series like recently and like you've never read it before, whatever, I'd suggest doing the audiobook, because it is a lot easier to digest as a book, and like maybe read along to get like the artwork and stuff, and like the comic book. Like it's worth having a copy of the book as well, but like it's on Scribd at the moment, so if you have Scribd, you could just literally just put it on. But for me, as someone who has only read it recently and not read it before, it was just a lot of like, I'm not sure why I'm even here.
You were really grumpy about it. It was really funny, because I'd finished it by that point and I'd really enjoyed the audio. I love the audiobooks anyway, to be honest. All of my copies are basically immaculate except for the first book, because I listened to the second one as an audiobook because I was behind, and that was it. Sold. Gonna do all the audiobooks. So my copies are immaculate, and I loved it. What was that?
One day I'll have to do them by audio. One day.
They are very good. They're very well voice acted. Like all of them are great.
But what really throws me is that it's a different narrator like every 4 books. Like
I didn't realize until Kieran told me. I was like, what?
My brother was just like, oh, it's a different voice actor. And I was like, what?
I was like, no, it's not. It's not. It's definitely not. Oh, it is. Oh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't notice at 2 times speed.
No. So on a what rating did we give it? That was the one thing that usually I start these lives by asking, but we were too busy getting excited about Mr. Landy. So what did you give it? I gave it a 3.5 to 4.
4.
I haven't rated it this time round yet. I do it on Corpile and I'm a bit behind. I like to give some time when I finish my reads. So I haven't actually put it through Corpile, but my original first time rating was 4 stars. But I fucking adore the Gog Magog storyline. So like I could quite happily put it at 5 stars just purely for, like, considering again I read it like well before I read Until the End for the first time. Like that storyline was like, oh my god. So 4.5. Even though like objective 4, realistic 4, but 4.5.
Fair.
Lizzie?
I gave it 3.5, 4. But that is purely for the end and switching to the audiobook. It was very much almost DNF while I was reading it. So it picked itself up with the Gog Magog stuff when it all came to light and like it was more getting weirder. So the second half of the book gave it the boost to 3.5, 4. And I think I rounded up on Goodreads.
Excellent. Okay, so next Saturday we will be talking about Until the End, and then that's it.
Are we going to do the thing that we normally do of like looking at the covers and like looking at the blurb?
The thing is, usually what we do is we sit here and we go, what do we think's going to happen?
And I sit here going,
all of us, bar none, was like, well, I've got it now, let's read it. Like, I've already read it. I've already broken my own rule of not reading the next one until we've done the previous live stream.
And I managed to really piss off Becca by reading it all on the day before it came out. Because for some reason, my local Waterstones broke the embargo for pre-orders.
Yeah, and you read it and then went to bed at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, I hate you so much right now. It took me 2 days.
The best bit is when we got up in the morning, Chris, my other half, fucking knackered because for some reason the EJ had stayed up with me just playing video games. I don't know why, but he did. He stayed up playing Valheim. It's like a Minecraft-esque game. And so we get up in the morning and he's walking around like a zombie and I'm fine.
Yeah. Because let's be honest, Skullduggery fuels us, so that doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
Yes.
My thought is what we should do after next week is just start again. Yeah?
I'm done for that.
Yes, I want to read the audiobooks.
And we'll just do another 10 years of Their Famous Readalong.
Until it comes out with something new.
Yeah, of course.
Hint, Landy. Hint.
Specifically, a series about a young boy who deserved better.
Yes.
Let's call it that. Let him call it that. The young boy who deserved better.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much content there. Like, he could start before we've met Omen and go to, like, well in the future. Like, there's so much he could do.
Or he could do it from the point of view of the Prince of the Darklands and go all the way through, like the Darklands lot, and then switch around to Omen and Olga.
Look, to be honest, he could write another 100 books and it still wouldn't be enough. I would still want more because I'm just that selfish. So
basically, this feels like there's the potential for it to kind of have a Discworld-esque level.
Yeah.
So, like, Pratchett started earlier with this, where he kind of, like, interwove different series into the same series, so following kind of different groups. But I feel like he could do that. Like, he could continue this story with, again, like, doing Omen's point of view, doing the Prince of the Darklands point of view. He could do he's already done one from Tanya's point of view. There's so many that he could kind of go and do, and, like, we would happily learn everything and anything.
All of it.
Imagine if we did a series about the adventures of Ken Speckled Grouse before he died.
That would be so cute.
Or just Ghastly's adventures.
All of them. I would read all of them.
I think like any Last Stand of Dead Men, like the Dead Men, if they did any like the adventures and like the Monster Hunter adventures with Fletcher, like I feel like anything like that.
He could go back to middle grade with the Monster Hunters. Like he could the rest of it like YA adult going upwards, and he could go back to middle grade and have the monsters and Fletcher.
Yeah,
because they're idiots. That would be adorable.
Yeah.
That would be perfect.
I think it would be great.
Or I'm trying to think, maybe the Adventures of Mr. Bliss, because he's quite an interesting one.
He died really early on in the series, but he's still like a pretty big character. Yeah. Like he's not mentioned again really after his death that much, like just the normal amount for someone who's passed in this series. But like in his time, like he was almost invincible.
Yeah.
And so I imagine he would have a lot of cool stories. But I guess we could still do the synopsis once Hannah is back, even though we have the same copy because there's only one copy currently. But just so that she doesn't miss it.
Yeah.
We can
they could do an entire series of like what happens in the Midnight Hotel and the very near misses.
Yes, that would be cool.
just the near misses of like various different like war didn't break out in the middle of the Midnight Hotel because Anton Shudder was there and went, "You are sit your ass down or get out."
Oh, I noticed that Lizzie also picked Hazard.
I also have put my pins on pin banner.
I need to put mine. Mine are currently so because mine was only a couple days ago. Everything's just.
Wait,
on.
you got pins?
Yeah, we got. Wait, do you want me to grab it so you can see them?
I'll also.
Oh my god! Now I'm really like.
So that was the first one, which for some reason is kind of upside down and weird. And then the second one was staying until the end.
Oh my god, that's so unfair.
And so you already saw the postcard.
Oh yeah, I don't know where mine of the signed one's gone. I think it's on my desk.
He better go back out on tour again. With
With that in mind, while Hannah isn't here, I'll do it because I have the copy. We are giving away a signed copy. It isn't the personalized one, but it is the special signed edition because we have an extra copy in this house. And we are giving it away, but we are asking on to tag, I think, on Twitter and in the comments to the video. We want you to answer a question, and that is, what direction do sparrows fly? I think that was the question.
Yeah.
And if you want this edition, it will be sent
For
to you.
winter, specifically.
In winter.
Which
I can't
direction does
remember.
sparrows fly for winter?
Listen, I was trying not to give the answer, so I was really fucking struggling because for some
I
reason
could
I
tell.
was
You did excellent work.
which is why I decided to do this because you weren't here and I could have just waited and held this up nicely for you to do it and wouldn't have butchered it in this way. But if you'd like a copy, tweet us and comment. Yeah. Woo! Someone else please talk now because I'm embarrassed.
So moving on from Lizzie's embarrassment, we can look at even though we've read it, we always do read out the synopsis of the next book at the end of the previous one's live stream. Now, there's not going to be any difference this time in me and Hannah because we have the exact same edition.
Which is why I haven't gone downstairs to get mine. So.
Yes, no, there's no point. The paperback hasn't come out yet, and they tend to have slightly shortened and ever so slightly edited versions of the synopsis. But so we only have this, so I shall read. So, the bad guys have won. The faceless ones have returned to our universe. With the end of everything just days away, and no longer able to rely on Valkyrie Kane, Skullduggery must make allies of enemies if he's going to stand any chance of saving what's left of the world. And, just when things are looking their bleakest, they manage to get even worse, with Omen Darkly suddenly having to step up when his brother, the Chosen One, falls. There's a lot going on. Most of it is bad. Sorry about that.
He's not sorry at all. He was
No.
never sorry from the start.
I knew he wasn't sorry from the second I saw that dedication.
And then we'll
Like,
talk about the dedication in a second. Underneath that, because I usually read this bit anyway, it's usually slightly more related to the topic rather than like a promo pitch. But this time it says, the second cycle of the internationally best-selling Skullduggery Peasant series comes to a thrilling end as Skullduggery and Valkyrie fight to save the entire universe. You are not ready.
Oh my god, that is so cleverly worded. Sorry, that's just hit me. That is very cleverly fucking worded. Sorry.
We won't say anything, but it is very cleverly worded. And then just to make Becca happy, the dedication for this one. This book is dedicated to Iron Man. Tony Stark stopped Thanos and saved us all, and I, for one, will never forget the sacrifice he made. Also to Natasha Romanoff for yeeting herself off that cliff.
at that point, I was like, "Excuse me, I need to have a word." If I'm going to
tabbed up
a word,
I tabbed up my copy and wrote on the tabs, and on my tab at the dedication, I just have yeet.
See, I don't want to talk about it, but that is foreshadowing, and I loved it.
I can't wait until next week when we can actually fucking talk about this book.
The entire way through this one, I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. I read that a year ago.
But like, I genuinely cannot wait to have the conversation with you because there's so much, and I'm so excited.
I genuinely don't know what I'm going to do with my time when I'm done.
No.
Like,
Reread the
what-
entire series.
it's 80% of my personality now. The other 20% is Gothtober, but like 80% of me is Skullduggery.
So
So
just skulls.
which is, to be fair, how the month works out. So if you don't know what I'm doing, I'm just winding up the cat. I'm booping her on the head with a pencil, and she keeps chewing it. So in case you're like, what is Hannah doing? That's what I'm doing. Is there anything you guys want to shout out and or promote before we disappear?
No, because I haven't been active on anything this month.
You've had
Just
stuff
puzzle.
going on. That's fair.
Bereavement.
Yes. Hannah and I are on sprints on Olivia's channel in a couple of hours. And tomorrow I'm doing reading sprints from 1 p.m. if people want to read. And then we've got a Bevies and Books live show where we're talking about 2 months worth of book prompts. So you can come and get some book recommendations at 7:30 p.m. on this channel that we're on right now. And I hope to see you all there. That was the best thing I've ever fucking said. I'm sorry. I'm very proud of myself.
Excellent.
Well done.
Smashed
I
it.
thought you were reading from a script.
Oh, that was stressful because I don't normally screw it up, but thanks, guys.
And Becca?
I've been uploading a whole ton of stuff on my website, the Comic Book Sanctum, which is Abby. What are you doing? You completely put me off then. But yeah, I've been putting up a whole load of stuff about Moon. Abby, just covering you up now. Check out the Comic Book Sanctum. It's got Moon Knight stuff on there, and we're also getting a whole ton of Doctor Strange stuff as well in the next coming week. So go check that out if you're interested in comics and all the rest of it.
Excellent. And I would like to invite everyone to go and treat themselves to something from Waypoint Books, an independent bookshop where I only sell books that I am happy to recommend. So there is always great LGBT and BIPOC rep. I've been working specifically on disability rep this month. So there are loads of neurodiverse reads that have been added. And yes, every time you buy a book from that independent, you support me and my content and read-alongs like this that are just such a good fucking time.
And
so
you get really
thank you everyone for watching. Go on.
Really cute packaging.
Yeah,
Really?
hold on. I've
Yeah.
got one here.
Really cute packaging.
This. Oh, look. Ooh, snazzy. This is for for the book club, but ooh.
Literally,
Yeah.
like when she sent me the Atlas 6, this wasn't that I'd bought it. It's just she thought it was shit. And she was like, Abby likes books I hate. Let's give it to Abby.
Yeah,
Which
basically.
I appreciate. I'll probably like it. And it was packaged so cute. And like,
This is the thing, I wanted you to get the full experience, but the Atlas 6 is not available on my website because
No,
I cannot. I can get it in for you, but I cannot, in good conscience, recommend it. So, Andy LaRue, for example, is not on my site.
Don't
All
you
the Skullduggery books are though. All of them. And I'm not gonna lie, I've bought his Demon Road trilogy. Chances are they'll go on there soon too.
I've
So,
not read that.
have you not? I'm so excited for it.
Sorry.
That
That was the cutest reaction I've ever seen Abby ever do. Oh, I haven't read that.
Usually I'm just high, like, fuck this shit. And this time I'm like, oh.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for being here. Genuinely terrified about next week because I don't like change and something's coming to an end. But we will see you then. Bye.
Definitely. Bye.